set up the integral to calculate the length of the curve, and they give us this formula for x between 1 and 5e. So it's a length of the curve formula. So we go down to this is the formula sheets on the home page, and we're doing arc length. So I'll grab that one because we are talking about dx on this one. So, all right, so I'm going to grab that formula. So the arc length, S they call it, I don't know why they call it that, equals what? Integral from A to B. So the integral from A to B of the square root of 1 plus f prime of x squared plus dx. Okay, so how are we going to do this integral? Well, here's our A and our B. That's pretty easy. That's along the x-axis. So that's going to be the integral from 1 to 5e. Okay, so now we need to come. I'm going to go over here on the side. I'm going to write the function f of x. Here is our function right here. So just bring that on down. And we've got, I'm going to rewrite it as 1/4 x squared minus a half natural log x. Okay, so we need to take the derivative. So the derivative of that, bring down the 2/4 x, oh, not x squared, huh? Subtract 1 from the power. So minus, now what's the derivative of natural log x? 1 over x. So I'm going to write it this way. You can put the x on the bottom, same thing. I just like negative powers. I think they're easier to look at. I don't like basically I don't like fractions. That's where I'm at. I'm going to clean that up one more step. I'm going to say a half x minus a half x to the minus 1. Okay, so that is f prime, right? And so now I need to, in fact, what I need to compute now is f prime squared. So maybe I'll put a little, stick a little room in here. Okay, so now f prime of x squared is going to be a half x minus a half x to the minus 1 times a half x minus a half x to the minus 1, right? And the reason I'm doing that is because we need that right here. We need f prime of x squared, right? Second power. So now I hope you do realize, because here's a common mistake some people make. They think you can square something by just squaring the individual parts. You cannot. You have to write two parentheses and do the whole FOIL thing. Are you aware of that rule from algebra? Right? I can prove it with numbers real quick. Here, let me just put it up here. Here, if you take 1 plus 2 and you square it, that is not equal to 1 squared plus 2 squared, right? Because that would be 5, 1 plus 4. And this is actually 3 squared, which is 9. See how it's just not true? So when you have parentheses squared, you can't just square the individual parts. That's not true. I'll just kind of sanction this off here, right? Just proving to you that when you, because some people, a lot of students think, whoops, that was a mistake. A lot of students think, well, I'll just square this, I'll just square this guy and square this guy. No, no, no. You have to write two parentheses and we have to FOIL. Okay, so let's do that. So boom, boom. So what do we get? So there's a half x times a half x. That's a fourth x squared. A half x times it's going to be negative. So half times half is a fourth. Now this is x to the 1, invisible 1 power, x to the minus 1. Those powers are going to add to be x to the 0. Did you track with that right there? I just took a half x to the 1 times negative, actually, huh? Times negative a half x to the minus 1. Remember when you multiply things like that, the fractions in the front multiply, so that's negative a fourth, and the powers add. So 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1, 0. And so that just makes it minus 1/4. We don't even need the x to the 0, right? Or I'll clean that up in a minute. Now it's this, so he's done. Now it's this guy's turn. Boom, boom. We get minus a fourth x to the 0 again, because this is also an invisible 1 power, right? Minus 1 plus 1, 0. Remember, out front numbers multiply, powers add. Remember that? When you multiply letter expressions, these powers, the 1 plus negative 1 adds, and the power answer is 0, right? Out front numbers multiply, powers add, okay? And now the last one, a negative half, he went there already, now there. So that'd be minus 1/4 x to the minus 2, isn't it? See that? Negative 1, the powers add there again. Okay. So these are gone because x to 0 is just 1. So this becomes a fourth x squared minus 2/4, right? Minus a fourth, minus a fourth. No more x to 0. Anything to 0 power is just 1. So those are gone, right? Is minus 1/4 x to the minus 2. All right. So that is f prime of x squared. So let's grab this expression. In fact, I think we need to bring this baby down here. So I'm gonna grab, yeah, so instead of doing it right here, let me grab this whole expression and bring it on down. So s equals the integral from 1 to, where is it? Oh, it's from a to b. So 1 to 5e of, right, that was a terrible, 5e. Oh, I see what it's doing. I'm in weird mode. Okay, there we go. Of the square root of 1 plus, now, supposed to put, come on, f prime of x squared. Well, I just did a bunch of work to figure that out. That's right here, right? It's right there. So that's going to be 1/4 x squared. Now, I know you probably want me to simplify that 2/4. I'm going to leave it because I'm going to show you. Or no, actually, I'm not going to leave it. You're right. I am going to simplify. Never mind. I'm thinking ahead. Something's coming. Let me show you. But I will simplify that. Okay. Now, and then dx, right? There's my integral I got to do. Now, before I dive in and integrate that, there's a trick here. Here's the real trick of this problem. Well, first there's a step 1, take away a half. That's just a half, right? So this becomes the integral from 1 to 5e of the root. Okay. I'm gonna keep the 1/4 x squared in the front. And then these guys, 1 take away half. Oh, yeah, no, 1 take away half, that's right, is plus a half, right? We good there? 1 whole take away half is a half. And then the last term, the minus 1/4 x to the minus 2 dx. We good there? So now you think, okay, yeah, but what do we do with that? We're supposed to integrate that. Yeah, here's the real trick. This is factorable as the same thing twice. It's tricky. Let me show you. In fact, actually, let me just put all the rest in there. 1 to 5. Yeah, I'm excited about showing you, and I'm skipping the work. Okay, here's what it does. It's 2 parentheses. Keep the dx out here. And what times what makes a fourth x squared? Well, a half x and a half x, right? Remember, think about FOIL. FOIL. Okay, last times last to make last. What does that? A half x to the minus 1, a half x to the minus 1, right? Because again, out front numbers multiply, powers add. You good? Now, how do you get minus there? You have to have 1 plus, 1 minus, right? You seeing that? So, on that, uh-oh, I feel like I'm getting a little stuck as well. It's not gonna work. That's not gonna work. Um, plus, no, we need them. We need them to. What do we need? Here's Mr. Heron stuck. So, fourth x squared and plus a half, and so. Let me see here. This is going to be a 4 plus a fourth plus a fourth. So if I make them both a plus, did I copy that down correctly? Oh, there's my mistake. Sorry. Right here. This should be plus, right? Because negative a half times negative a half is plus. Okay. So this is plus. So this is plus. Sorry about that. And so both of these, so these are going to both be plus. Yes, there we go. Sorry. All right. Yeah, so I'm sorry I messed that up back here, right? Negative a half times negative a half is positive before. So easy to mess this stuff up. And this should have been positive right here. And then bring it on down. Okay, now it factors, right? Front times front is a fourth x squared. And last times last, a half x to the minus 1 times a half x minus 1 is a fourth x to the minus 2. Now you might say, yeah, but how are you going to get the half in the middle? It'll work. Let me check it for you. Let me check it just to prove it. So I know it looks like it doesn't work, but it does. Let me show you. Let me just FOIL it out. It will make that happen. We are on track here. Okay. So if you FOIL this out, remember, boom, boom. So this guy to both. So that'd be a fourth x squared, right? Out front numbers multiply powers add. And a half x times a half, that'd be a fourth x to the zero because the powers add. He's done. Okay. Now this guy's going to go to both. Boom, boom. Right? So that'd be a fourth, half times a half. Got to watch your signs. X to the zero because minus one plus one. And then boom, this is a fourth x to the minus 2. Now you see what happens here? X0 is 1. A fourth and a fourth is a half. See how it works beautifully? It's a little trick. This matches this, right? Proving that this is really the correct factorization of this. That's the trick. This takes time to get that straight. Okay, so now, so what? What's that all do for me? So all this was just to check. This was just to prove. You don't have to do that, right? All you got to do now is take this guy and bring him down here. So now we have the integral from 1 to 5e of the root of what? Um, that's the same thing twice. So that's a half x plus a half x to the minus 1 squared, isn't it? It's the same thing twice. And that's good news because the root can cancel the square. So you see that this is the same. Oops, I thought I had a pin there. This is the same thing twice. So it's squared, right? We proved it. If you fold it out, it really does push that half in the middle. So now we can just do a big fancy rooting cancels squaring. So this problem becomes the integral from 1 to 5e of just the half x plus a half x to the minus 1 dx. The root's gone. The root and the square cancel each other out. Now we can just integrate this thing. How do we integrate it? Well, and by the way, we can't just type it into decimals. Why not? Because back in the beginning, it said evaluate the integral giving an exact answer, no decimals. So whenever it says exact answer, no decimals, we have to do it by hand. So now we got to do this by hand. How do we do this by hand? You do the antiderivative of each of these. So you add 1 to the power, that'd be 2, and then divide by 2. So put a 2 right there. So it'll be 1/4 x squared plus, and then add 1 to the power. That's going to be 0, and then divide by 0. We can't do that. Right, you got to think about what is that thing? That is, that'd be 0. So that won't work. So what's up? Well, you got to remember this is a half times 1 over x. The half just sits here. The half's not doing anything. What's the integral of 1 over x? Natural log. Right? Remember that? Okay, now we evaluate this thing from 1 to 5e. Good. I just did the antiderivative of both those. I added 1 to the power and divided by that. And I tried adding 1 to the power, but it was 0, and you can't divide by 0. Put 0 on the bottom, that's going to be 0 on the bottom. That's undefined. Can't do that. Then you think, oh, that's 1 over x. So the integral of that is natural log. Right. So now come on down. Let's plug in. So we're going to go, okay, 1/4, start with the 5e. Now we're going to go 5e squared plus a half natural log of 5e. All right, all that minus, and now we're gonna plug in the 1. So a fourth 1 squared plus a half natural log 1. right? So remember, plug in 5e in both cases, then plug in 1 in both cases. Okay, so what do we get here? This is going to be 25e squared over 4 plus, now what do we do with the natural log of 5e? Well, you can just leave it that way or you can clean it up. All right, I'll show it. You don't have to. I'll show it. So it's a half um, times natural log of 5 plus natural log of e. Do you remember log properties? That two things multiplied inside one log is two separate logs added. Remember that? And then what's the log of e? 1. Do you remember that? Those log rules. And then this is a fourth plus. And what's the natural log of 1? Check it on your calculator. Oh, it's not. It's 0. 0. Whoops, that's a bad looking 0. 0. So that part's gone. Natural log of 1 is 0. So then we are inches away. It's 25 e squared over 4 plus a half times natural log. In fact, let's just distribute that half. Either way, it doesn't matter. Half natural log 5. I'll just go boom, boom, plus a half, right? Because a half times 1 minus a fourth. And I guess we could do one more step. I'm kind of tired of this problem at this point. I'm sure you are also. 25e squared over 4 plus a half natural log 5. And what's a half minus a fourth? It is a fourth. There we go. There's the exact answer. 25e squared over, let's go look it up. See if it's right. 25e squared over 4 plus a fourth plus a half natural log 5 plus a fourth plus a half natural log 5. We got it. Just as easy as that. All right. There we go. Hope that helped.